Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to another Red and Blue review. We've all had a bit of wind this week, and with a usual blustery gusto, I'm welcoming back the regulars, Joel Holyoke and Ian Noble. Evening, boys. How are you?
I'm good, Nick. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
And also welcome back again, Steve Mason. Steve, when was the last time you were on?
It was only a few weeks ago, just before the Liverpool game, because I went to watch the week before Liverpool ladies.
Oh, of course you did. Of course you did. Anyway, well, welcome back again. And in Melbourne, Australia, it's 1984, and Aaron's with us. Aaron, welcome back again, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, mate. Very well.
I love your boy band haircut you've got now. Yeah, it's looking good, man.
Can't even believe that. Can't even believe it.
And I've noticed in the chat already, Mux is in the chat already. Mux, good evening, mate, to you especially, because I have got your question lined up, or more importantly, Lucy's got your question lined up, and we'll get to that later in the show. Thank you for that. And that reminds me, by the way, before we start, if anybody else has got questions that you want to bring up for the show, feel free to contact us on Messenger, any one of us, as Mux has done this afternoon, and we'll happily get to them at some point during the show, because he's got a question for the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, but make sure you please ask your smart speaker to go to the latest Red and Blue review podcast. You can find tonight's pod will be up within a few minutes of us going off air this evening. You can find us on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, our YouTube channel, but most importantly of all, our own website, the redandbluereview.co.uk, where you can find our entire back catalogue. Mr. Holyoke, thank you for stepping up to the plate last week. I did get to see some of it. Excellent show, mate, and you made everybody laugh. Well done, bud.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We could just go straight into the chat, just to give an idea of who the people are that are out there and joining us tonight. Rob Cranfield, Damien Thomas, Jason Green, Curtis Simon, Neil Chatterjee, Nigel Boyce, Bread Companion, John CPFC. I'm not sure if that's John, other Jaddy's Count Hackley, John Knox. Be nice to see you come back again. Claire Davis, Mark Bushell, Mukhtar, Gary Fisher, Daniel Garlic, Graham Kitcher, Mark Callaghan, maybe Callahan, I don't know. Andy Best, Steve Tween. Oh, there is John Knox. Hello, John. Charlie Shaw, Barker, cracking name, Renshaw. Paul Wilshire, Tony Nichols, Andrew Adams, Kathy Thompson, Ryan Hinton, to name but a few. And Simon Cribbin from all the way from Canada.
Good evening, Simon. Simon, give me a ring. I need to talk to you. A couple of messages for the people in the chat. Claire Davis, I know your imminent arrival is very soon now. I'm wishing you absolute best of luck with it. Okay, God bless you, and hope all goes well. Love to the family. John Knox, keep your eye on your post tomorrow, because finally your Red and Blue review mug will be landing on your doorstep tomorrow, as I know you're already eagerly anticipating its arrival. It will be with you, I think, in the post tomorrow, as long as the postman doesn't get blown off his feet. Where should we start, boys? I'll tell you what we're going to do. Before we do the lineup, Ian, I'm going to come to you first, if you don't mind. Change of formation yesterday, completely 4-2-3-1. Not something I've seen in my lifetime, I don't believe, at Selhurst Park, unless anybody else out in the chat can tell me differently. Why do you think he did that? Was it just because of the opposition we were playing against?
Yeah, I'm sure, Nick. Good evening, everyone. I'm sure that we've played that formation before now, but I just think it just took a few people by surprise yesterday when the lineup was announced. And absolutely, I think it was to do with the fact that we were playing Chelsea. He'd done his homework on them. And look, it nearly paid off, didn't it? I think had we drawn that game 0-0 or 1-1, which could have easily happened, then we would have been saying a bit of a masterstroke, because Chelsea, I know they've just come back from this long trip away and they were a bit jet lagged, as they said, or Thomas Tuchel said in his post-match presser, but we're still playing Chelsea. They're a class apart, above us. They're a different level to us, same as Liverpool, Man City. We can compete with them on our day, of course we can, but they're a good side, world class all over the pitch, and therefore that's the reason I think he changed the formation yesterday to counter the opposition.
Jill, I didn't think Chelsea really exposed us at any points yesterday. Your thoughts on the 4-3-2-1, please, mate? 4-2-3-1. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with your 4-1 or whatever you think. I just think we played 4-6 because Wilf was on the left. Wilf was just everywhere. So for me, he wasn't playing up front. Ayew doesn't count as playing these days. He gets 15 minutes a season that he's decent. So for me, we were playing with 10 for a start. So we were probably playing 4-5. He did nothing throughout the whole game. Complete waste. Why Eze? Yeah, but if Eze is fit enough to be on the bench, then he's better than Ayew. Again, I just can't. That's my heading. 4-6. I think what we were trying to do was not get overrun in midfield, which we didn't really. So it was good, but we just didn't have anyone up front. So that when the ball did get hoofed, which was quite a lot, there was no one there. So, yeah, disappointing, to say the least.
Aaron, I know you watched the game. Were you overly impressed with Chelsea? Did they look like potential champions to you?
No. Look, like what Ian said, they've got quality and they are world class. I'm never going to deny that, but I don't think they were fantastic. They created a couple of chances. We created a couple of chances on our day. We should have scored like they did. So, look, I think the formation worked well. They play free at the back with wing backs, and obviously we was trying to play the ball over the top in the windy conditions to try counteract that, because I don't think we would have played through them while they're playing free at the back. So it was ball over the top and try get one of them in, and it worked a couple of times, but unfortunately we couldn't put it in the back of the net. So,
Steve, they're horrible. I've never liked them. I mean, the fact that I was actually a bit concerned because of the storm the day before. I was quite concerned that the game might have been called off anyway. Apparently, they took down a load of the hoardings on top of the Arsenal weight for safety concerns anyway. I was more concerned about the Chelsea fans not being able to get down because all the mainline stations were closed up in London. Then, of course, I thought, again, most of the bastards live in Sutton anyway. Your thoughts on that muggy little club called Chelsea, please?
Chelsea are just one of those teams, isn't they? Unfortunately, they are where they are. They're in the top sort of 4 and 6 regularly, but they're not well beaters. And I actually tipped Chelsea to win the Premier League this season. I thought with the couple of additions they made, I tipped them to beat the likes of City and Liverpool to the title. But I think for us, it was a missed opportunity. I know they've got world-class players. Sorry, go on in.
No, finish off, Steve, and I'll come in afterwards. Yeah.
Sorry. I think for us it's a missed opportunity, because if there was any time to beat Chelsea, it would have been after they've come back from it was in the UAE, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So coming back from the UAE, not playing Premier League football for almost a month, a bit of jet lag, and I think it was our chance to I think the last time we beat them was when, I'm sure it was that goal from John Terry, wasn't it?
Now, we beat them in 2017, which was the 8th game of the season when we lost 7 on the trot.
That was it, yes.
But that's 8 games now where we've lost to them. 8 games on the spin.
Yeah, I just think it was a missed opportunity. But I think the tactics, like coming back to the 4-2-3-1, we've played it many times in the past from what I can recall. But to not have a designated striker, I don't know whether Wilf was meant to be that or what, but it just doesn't make sense. You've got Benteke, Edouard, and dare I say it, Mateta, even though I don't rate him at all, you've got to have a focal point, haven't you?
You absolutely have, which is why everyone was so surprised that he left Edouard, Mateta, and Benteke all on the bench. Really strange. Interestingly, a few people said about Lukaku in the chat. Don't forget they paid £90 million for Lukaku, right? 90 million. Just get your head around that.
12 million a touch.
Yeah, our ball boy had more touches than Lukaku. He touched the ball 7 times, apparently.
Correct.
7 times. That is shocking, isn't it?
You just nicked one of my stats, Ian.
Yeah. Paul, I haven't read your notes. Paul Glance said, I think it's Paul Glance I saw go up, said, were Chelsea bad or were we good? And I think it was a bit of both, actually. I think we did play well. We'll go into the detail a little bit later on. but I did think we coped with them very, very well at times. And anyway, I didn't think Chelsea were that good, or was it we were good? And I think we did play well, notwithstanding the fact we still lost. But Chelsea, yeah, you got to play like Lukaku, touch the ball 7 times. That's poor, isn't it, by anyone's standard? And yeah, on Match of the Day, that's all they talked about after the analysis. It was all they talked about. I think they mentioned this in about 2 seconds. Thanks very much, lads. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give up watching that program, I think.
Usual stuff. Jill, you sat there for about on my 2 screens like that for about 30 seconds after I made my Sutton comment. Were we that good, or were Chelsea that bad?
No, I thought we were okay. I thought they were just, they've got some very, very good players. But listen, this thing about jet lag, I ain't having that at all. I'll see you for a while. I'll go away in a couple of weeks' time, and when I come back on a Thursday. I land about 6. I should be indoors about 8. I'll be in bed by 9, and I'll be up at 6:02, like I usually am every morning. And I'm going to go to work, right? But I won't be crap at tiling just because I got off a plane. That's a 6-hour journey. My journey is going to be longer than theirs, but they just come back from. Not having it. Not having this jet lag thing anymore. Don't exist. The other thing is, if you're jet lagged, don't play. They've got a squad of about 30,000 players, Chelsea, because they just buy everybody that City can't buy, right? And I just ain't having it at all. Lukaku is probably the most overrated player, one of the most overrated players in the top, definitely, that's ever played in the Premier League. He is absolutely toilet. And if he can be kept quiet, just literally by an extra midfielder and 2 average to decent centre-backs, then, man, they're paying him probably 400,000. Christ, I need to put my rates up.
Right, Joe, you opened the door. You did this. I didn't do it. Okay, you opened the door, and I'm about to walk through it. Okay, Jill just said, ladies and gentlemen, he won't be a bad Tyler because of jet lag. He's just a bad Tyler. Ladies and gentlemen, so we'll move on to... There's no need for it. I know, sorry, mate. You bloody opened it. I did it. Okay, right. So anyway, we had other results from around the club. Great news that yesterday lunchtime, I think it was, Palace under-18s were playing the Gooners, and they didn't just beat them, they spanked them 5-0. So congratulations to the under-18s. Today, the under-23s played Man United. And we were 2-0 up at half-time. Unfortunately, we went on to draw the game 2-2. Obviously, a bit of Fergie time going on there, because they scored very late on to equalise, as they normally do. So anyway, still, I've got a question for everybody out in Facebook land. Pin your ears back, because I'm now off work for a couple of weeks, and I'm looking to take in an under-23s game or one of the ladies' games. Are they, with the current COVID restrictions, are we allowed to go in and see under-23s games or women's games? Can somebody in the chat, Nigel Croucher, if you're watching, I'm sure you're a man in the know, let me know in the chat, please. Gio's going to keep his eye on the chat. We're going to do that in a second. So what we're going to do, instead of going through and doing an automatic review on the game, I'd like to talk to you boys, if you don't mind, about different areas of the squad from yesterday and how they're currently performing. So the lineup was Guaita in goal, which we're going to come to in a second. Klein, oddly, Guihi, Anderson and Mitchell, Kwate MacArthur, Ayu, Elise, Schlupp and Zaha was your lineup yesterday. Right, boys. So, as we've already alluded to, early on, Crystal Palace were dealt a massive blow when Jack Butland had to replace Vicente Guaita at half-time against Chelsea. And pre-show, Jill mentioned that his observation, he was quite right, that against Brentford, Anderson was already taking his goal kicks for him, which I hadn't seen. I thought that only happened in my school days because I was crap at goal kicks as a goalkeeper. And also Tyrick Mitchell also went down with a heavy knock. And we were also talking pre-show the fact that Joel Ward was also missing from the squad entirely yesterday. Are we getting a bit concerned about our growing injury list? Aaron, I'm coming to you first.
Well, look, injuries aren't fantastic. We don't really need them in the squad. I know VG gets a bit of stick, but I personally prefer him in goal. I mean, what a save that was from Rudiger, by the way, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later. That is a top draw save, that. But yeah, Joel Ward, look, Joel Ward's steady, consistent, Mr. Steady and consistent, isn't he? But look, I think Klein is not a half bad replacement. So I'm not concerned about the injuries at the moment. Not particularly, but I am glad to have Macca back as well, I must say. What a difference he made.
Colin Walker was saying Anderson was taking goal kicks because of tactical play, and I think you might have a point there, Cole. I hope you're well, mate. Steve, what about you? Sorry, I'll come to you next, mate. Steve, your thoughts on the goalkeeper situation? Are you worried about the injuries?
No, to be honest with you, I think although Jack Butland's made a couple of monumental errors, i.e. against Millwall, and I'm sure he made one the week before the Millwall game or the week after, but actually he then redeemed himself. I can't remember, was it against, I can't remember who it was after, but he pulled out some unbelievable saves. So either of those goalkeepers, I think, Jack Butland wasn't in the England team for nothing. I think he needed game time, and I think there would be no worries for me there. No worries at all.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see Guaita kick the ball very often, and the reason we don't see him kick the ball for goal kicks is that we always play it short out the back.
Yeah,
we're playing it out of the back all the time, and these very short goal kicks to a centre back, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, and I got quite frustrated watching that yesterday, especially in the second half. I know that most teams play out from the back. And you can get caught out doing this, as we did against Millwall in the FA Cup, which Steve's just mentioned, when Jack Butland got the ball at his feet and just got it horribly wrong. And they score from it. And, I just think that we need to get the ball up the pitch a bit quicker at times. And I know possession's important and all the rest of it, and it's the way we're playing these days, and it's the modern way. But it does frustrate me that we play out you can overplay out from the back. I think sometimes it feels like we're overplaying out from the back.
Joe, your thoughts as well, mate, because you wanted to make a point. And could you also do some stuff from the chat for a second, mate? I'll be back in a sec.
Well, I am just going to do some stuff on the chat. Phil English has taken umbrage with about Guaita, and he says, why is it a massive blow? Guaita is the third lowest rated keeper in the league. Well, it's a fair point, if that's what the stats say. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the destroying 2-2, and on CPFC said the same issues as the first team. So, and I was corrected earlier. It's not Callaghan, it's Callahan, as in Dirty Harry. Mark Callahan said it's about time we blooded a few of the kids, even just on the bench. Well, we did blood one of the kids at left back a couple of weeks ago. So if Tarek is injured, I don't see that being a problem because he looked pretty decent. He looks a little bit like he wanted to throw a few tricks, but yeah, I mean, I'm all up for more kids coming through from the first team, especially if we can try and nick those another couple of wins from somewhere, give us a little bit of space from the bottom 4 or 5, so we're not dragged into anything. But Greg Ellis said, if all teams are now playing out from the back, do you think we should do something different? Why follow suit? Well, I mean, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's fashionable. It's it's what Man City have been doing for 5 years. So we're always going to be 2 or 3 years behind them. And the other thing as well, I just happened to take in a championship game the other day accidentally for 30 seconds. They're doing exactly the same. So it just seems to be that football is becoming, in the first 2 divisions, at least in the UK, at the highest 2, it seems to be becoming less fashionable to hoof. But yeah, I mean, and again, John Sturman said, Guaita saved us loads, is the best keeper since Martin for me. I need to have a massive think about that. And then Matty Cannon said, Mitchell need to get back quicker. But yeah, put a shift in, thinking that he could have helped, that he could have had more help, or even subbed. He looked really, Matty saying that he looked really, really tired. I've not seen that really, but again, we haven't just got one left back. We've got other players to cover positions. That's what we had. Only, at the beginning of the season, we were saying we had 2 players for position almost. So if players are looking tired and jaded and do need a rest, then I'm all up for that. But I'm not all up for putting 3 strikers on the bench. We got 3 proper strikers at the club. Take one on full time after he's been at the club for a year, and then we just go, stay at home, boys. You're not needed today. I mean, what happens if we go 2-0 down? A striker can't get into a game at 0 down, or I'm just a little bit. Yeah, Kathy Thompson going back to Vicente. She said that's why he throws the ball a lot. So I don't think his foot distribution is fantastic. But the thing is, with keepers, you always find that there's, the distribution from Buckland is, but then I think that Vicente is a better shot stopper than Buckland, without a doubt. So, everyone has their pros and cons for whatever position they play. So, but again, John said Wayne had Jesus hands in goal though. But anyway, we can all pick phones with players and stuff. But
okay, Ian, I want to ask Ian about the midfield, if you don't mind. Kwasi, MacArthur, Ayew, and Schlupp really were the midfield. I didn't see after the game who they nominated as our man of the match, but my man of the match was certainly in those 4. Who would your man of the match be?
Probably Anderson yesterday. I thought he didn't do anything wrong at all. I thought he was fantastic at the back. His distribution was fantastic as well. So for me, Anderson and Elise, the other one, who played really, really well in a new role for him, because he's only played wide right before, but he played in a 10 role. And if you look at some of the things he did in the game, that early chance he had where Wilf put him through, Wilf did ever so well to feed him through. He was in the inside right position, and a little dink, and he just missed the post. That was so close to put us 1-0 up after about 8 minutes. Really unlucky. And then the ball through to Wilf for the chance on half time. Elise's pass was absolutely top draw. And the reason it was a good chance was the quality of the ball. So, Mike, actually, I'm going to Michael Elise first, then Anderson, the 2 players that stood out for me yesterday.
Okay, well, I'm going to disagree with you if you don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, I'd like your opinion on the man of the match. Ian's just put up 2 very good candidates, and I won't argue with him, but I've actually got a differing opinion. Our African Cup of Nations winner, for me, Cheika Kouyaté, I thought had an outstanding game in midfield. Yeah. He ran his socks off. His engine was strong. He was up and down. He was brutal in the tackle. I'd like your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, in Facebook land. Who was your man of the match? I mean, Ian's not wrong, but I'd just like to know what you think out there. It could be somebody else. It could have been the goalkeeper. But for me, it was Cheika Kouyaté. Ian's going with Elise or Anderson. Your thoughts, and Tony Nichols is saying Schlupp. Okay, each to his own. So, Aaron, I'm coming to you now. We've got all these striking options on the bench, and yet he leaves it till whatever time it was to bring Eze on later. I know you're going to do a quick overview of the game in a minute, but I just got Aaron's thoughts on late substitutions, because somebody just mentioned in the chat a minute ago that, are we wandering down the Hodgson way of late substitutions? Your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I could understand why we didn't start with a striker, because, like we said, the way that we was going to play against Chelsea, it was going to be over the top. There was going to be no hold-up play. So starting Benteke and Mateta might have been a waste of time. If I would have started with one, it would have been Edouard, because he's got a bit of pace on him. So, because if you're looking at the way we played that game, we're constantly looking at Anderson to play a ball over the top. We're constantly looking for a through ball. So starting with Zaha and Elise sort of in an attacking position, for me, was a good idea. But look, at the end of the day, it wasn't working. I don't like the late substitutions. So, yeah, I would have brought on Edouard a bit quicker for me, because I can't remember who said it, and I apologise, but when you're bringing on a striker and attacking options at 80, 85 minutes, they're not going to get into the game. It's completely pointless for me. You bring on a substitution with 5 or 10 minutes to go to see out the game, not to win a game. That's the difference for me. So I'd bring them on with about 20 minutes, half hour at least. But yeah, if there was one that was going to come on for me, it would have been Edouard, purely just for the pace reason of getting behind them.
Jill, I'm coming to you for the chat next. Okay, Ian, I'd like your overview following Jill. But ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, these guys are sitting all over the world, giving up their Sunday evening or Monday morning in Aaron's case for your benefit, for your love of the club. Give them a like right now. I'm going to do a couple in the chat. Give them a like and send them some love, please, right now in the chat to show them that you appreciate them giving up their Sunday evenings or Monday mornings in Aaron's case. Jill, from the chat, mate, please.
Yeah, I'm not even going to... I think his name is Sven Rogvi Nielsen. Put it this way, it'd be about 45 quid to put him on the back of his shirt. He said, starting with no attacker is madness. Completely. Phil English said, Klein played well. Kouate may have won a few balls. But when he tried to run, he was clueless and embarrassing. Phil, you're in a bit of a harsh mood tonight. Usually it's me, mate. Andrew Adams said it would have started with Benteke. Me and Andrew never ran anything. But so, when you got Elise out wide trying to put in quality crosses and there's no one there, then Benteke's going to be the person that you want from an Elise cross. So he said he would start Benteke, let him batter their centre-backs, and then bring Edouard on in the 65th minute. What I did realise, what I did suss out yesterday, who's their centre-back? Who's that great big fella? Rudiger. Man,
Yeah,
that
Rudiger.
geezer goes down like a 7-year-old girl. Honestly, he's embarrassing. He screams. That's the thing about Chelsea, is that the referee just completely pandered to him. When he went near him, I mean, he literally kicked the crap out of some of our players. And, you know, we're getting up and going, referee, what's going on here? You go anywhere near him like that, and he's screaming, and he goes down. He's absolutely embarrassing. He really is. Paul Holden said, was Patrick Vieira playing for a draw? I'd rather go for a win or even taking a risk to get the win. Chloe Johnson, she said, it seems like the defence has got so much better, but the attack is non-existent. Well, you're absolutely right, Chloe, because we didn't have an attack. So we didn't have... and Joan Wells has pretty much stated the obvious, and she says we have lost a lot of games at the very last, in the last minutes of the games. So, you know, really, everyone, again, like I say, everyone's got a valid point because it's the way that everyone sees it different. But yeah, it's frustrating when you know, when he puts that in with those strikers. I mean, they probably earn the most amount of money at the club, I would have thought, and we're not playing them. I understand it.
Chloe, I've just seen your other point, Chloe, you just mentioned in the chat that we have to beat Watford and Burnley, or we have to get something against Watford and Burnley, or we are in big trouble. We don't want Burnley catching us. Well, the other thing I would suggest that you all do is have a look at the teams with games in hand around us, okay, or below us, okay, and there are quite a few of them, and they are all closing the gap at the moment. I'm a little bit concerned. I don't think we're going to go down. I don't think we're going to be in a relegation fight, but we do need to get something out of those two games. And you are absolutely right. I was saying to the boys pre-show, guys, that with Watford and Burnley, our next two games, obviously we've got Stoke in the middle of it, but Watford and Burnley as our next two games, the two teams that you don't want to be playing are the two form teams down there, and that's them. Go on, Joe, and I'm going to pass to Ian.
Just really quickly, Real Panny said Mateta didn't impress at Norwich, Edouard didn't impress at Brentford, Zaha didn't impress yesterday, Benteke next to try at Watford. None of them are taking their chances to own the striker's shirt. Absolute valid point.
Because he's a smart geezer. And panel, how many times I've got to do this? Get on the show. Get on the show. You know you're welcome. Ian.
I did speak to him about it yesterday, to be fair, before kickoff. So I'll see him at Watford. I'll have another go at him. Interestingly, we talk about late goals. 22% of Palace's goals conceded this season, which is 8 of 36, have come in the final 5% of games in the last 5 minutes plus stoppage time. That's a lot of goals to concede. in the final 5 minutes of games, and it's something that we've got to do something about, because I think yesterday, yes, I'd want to win the game, of course, and I think, to be honest with you, the fact that we didn't play a recognised striker, I think Patrick Vieira did set up to be more defensive than attacking, to contain Chelsea, to frustrate them. And when you get to 88 minutes and it's still 0-0, take the bloody point, is what I say, and make sure we don't concede. And if we get a chance on the counter, fantastic. But make sure we don't concede and take that hard-earned point. And we just took our eye off the ball for a moment, and they scored. And, we nearly got it back as well. Well, I'll come to that later. But you've got to see these games out. And I think this is where we've got to learn. Patrick talks about it a lot in his post-match pressers. He talks about the fact that we've got to learn from these mistakes. It makes us stronger, and all this kind of stuff. But it's game after game after game, isn't it? It's how it seems at the moment, for sure. Talking about the game then yesterday, before kickoff, it was lovely that Cheikhou Kouyaté got a name check for his AFCON win, and he got a round of applause in the ground. I don't know if you've seen the video at training when they gave him a guard of honour. That was lovely to see. If you haven't seen it, Google that and have a watch of that. And I thought they might have done it yesterday, actually, but they didn't. To actually give him a guard of honour as he came out, because it was a great achievement for him. But that's 6 games now without a win for Palace, and that's a little bit of a worry. And we are looking over our shoulder a little bit. All the pundits, everyone, they talk about relegation. No one mentions Palace still. They stop at Brentford. It's Brentford and downwards, but we're just above Brentford, of course, in the table. And these next 2 games, for me, absolutely critical. We've got to get something from these games. They must not lose, but we've got to get a win there. We've got to get 4 out of the 6 points, for me, for sure. We've talked about most of the major things in the first half yesterday. I think, you touched on Rudiger's shot, Aaron, and the Guaita's save. That was absolutely fantastic. And Kante had a shot as well that was straight at Guaita that he saved. So 2 really good saves from Vicente Guaita in the first half. The opening chance where Elise just put it wide, I mentioned earlier, and then in the closing stages, which I missed because I was getting the half-time teas in. It was my turn. So I actually missed that chance in real time. And I would have been gutted if it had gone in, having missed it, but I'd have been thrilled on the other hand as well. So we're going at 0-0, and Butland replaces Guaita at half-time. I think in the second half, we had Schlupp's shot over the bar. Easy for me to say, Schlupp's shot. After last week's faux pas, I better be careful what I say. And, it was a good effort, just rising a bit too much. I think there was a moment, we talked about Rudiger being a nasty bit of work, and there was a moment in the second half where it was robbed by the corner flag with Jordan Ayew, and he had both hands on him. And Chelsea still get the decision. So you do get this big club, getting the priority. They get the rub of the green sort of thing with the decisions for sure. And then came the warning. The warning was that offside goal. I mean, at 75 minutes, we all thought we were 1-0 down. No one could tell whether he was offside from where I was sitting anyway. No one even appealed for it. And thankfully, VAR stepped in. It was Michael Oliver on VAR. And it was ruled out. And that should have been our warning, And that Ziyech, for me, he was the man of the match. Obviously, he scored the winning goal, so he's going to get it anyway. But he was a thorn in our side the whole game. In the first half, he was putting crosses in, and he played really, really well. And when it comes to the winning goal on 88 minutes, Alonso is fresh off. They make a triple substitution, Chelsea. They make the kind of substitution that I wanted to see Palace make. And Alonso puts the ball in. We know he can cross the ball. We know that for sure. But Eze and Klein are sort of standing off him. So he's got all the time in the world to, take his moment, and cross the ball where he wants it. And Mitchell, as you can see there on the graphic, he's turning around looking at it, but it just goes over his head. He just misses it, mistimes it. And does it go through Butland's legs? It sort of looks as if it's going to go through Butland's legs there. I think Guaita says that.
He's got to do better. He's got to do better.
Yeah.
He's got to
do better. He saves it. So, it's 1-0, and then we think the game's over. But, we still have another go at them, don't we, at the death. And a bit like last week, where Wilf got wrestled to the ground for the one that wasn't given as a penalty at Brentford in a similar position inside left. He cuts in, he does really, really well. And again, he just drags his shot slightly wide. And chance gone, chance over, and we lose the game 1-0. So frustrating all round. Of course it was. It was a horrible day. It was raining. Everyone was a bit pissed off when they got in the ground because it was soaking wet and everything. But, you know, we can still come out of yesterday with our heads held high, thinking, you know, we've lost the game, but, you know, we played well. And I think if we play like that or play as well as we can at Watford and again at home to Burnley, I think we can get something out of those games for sure. And then Stoke in the Cup the following week. So, you know, I don't think the future is the immediate future is too bleak. I don't think we're going down. I'm looking upwards, not down. There we are. My glass is always half full.
Thanks, mate. I want to do some player stats, if you don't mind. I think Lucy's got something to show you guys. There you go. Now, especially the Wilfried Zaha one that I'm going to come back to in a second. There's some stats for Jeffrey Schlupp and Jordan Ayew. And thanks to Nigel Croucher for these. So going back to the Wilfried Zaha one, if you didn't quite catch it, Wilfried Zaha yesterday. Zaha played centrally in the 4-2-3-1 system. Listen to this. He gave the ball away 21 times, lost 8 of his 13 duels, also missed a big chance, but he actually missed 2. Also completed just 3 of his 7 attempted dribbles and had 2 shots off target. I was shouting from the stands yesterday, those things that are hanging down under your arse, Wilf, are called legs. Jump when the ball's in the air and you're challenging for a high ball. You're up against another player, a central defender. Jump. You've got to jump. Use your legs and spring up. Jeffrey Schlupp yesterday was only just better than Zaha, playing out on the left-hand side. He made 5 dribble attempts on the wing, but only completed 1. Lost 10 of his 17 duels. Lost possession 19 occasions. You can't do that against a top 3 team like Chelsea. He made 2 fouls and was dribbled past 3 times, while he also failed to attempt to complete a cross or a shot on target. And finally, Jordan Ayew, because obviously we've done the rest of the team. Jordan Ayew played on the right-hand side and was replaced, rightly so, in the 85th minute. I would have personally brought him off earlier, give Eze a chance to actually do something in the game. Like Schlupp, he also failed to complete a cross or have a shot on goal and was successful in 1 of 2 dribble attempts. He gave the ball away 16 times, lost 4 of his 11 duels and had 48 touches of the ball. Those stats for a forward 3, all it's going to do is, I'm coming to you right now, Jill, those stats are for a forward 3, all they're going to do is you're going to invite pressure on yourself. I'm surprised Chelsea didn't give a spanking. Jill.
Runs around a lot, though. So Matty Cannon said Zaha looks slower and he looks like he struggles more to make a pass and beat players. The thing I noticed about Wilf yesterday is he actually looked like he was trying to do flicks and tricks and, you know, step overs. And so. These are world-class players. It is like literally Palace playing a World Cup game yesterday. That is a World Cup qualifier because every single player that Chelsea have, virtually, every player, almost world-class. You know, I thought he had a nightmare. I'm not even going to go about Jordan Ayew. He was absolutely crap. And to give Eze 6 minutes, to be honest, it's insulting for me. You know, he is one of our better players. And that thing, and the thing is, if he's good enough for 6 minutes, he's good enough for 16 or 26 minutes. This thing about coming back, when you've had an injury, and I know he had 6 months out or 8 months out or whatever, and it was a horrendous injury, right? But don't play him this season. Give him to the 23s. Play football with the 23s all season. If you think he's not good enough, if you think he's only good enough for 6 minutes, that isn't going to be good enough for us. He's come on a couple of times late on in the games. He's done nothing. He's running in players himself into a game. Yeah, it's so frustrating. For me, the thing about Jeff Schlupp is, he's either very good or he's very bad. Again, he's another frustrating player. But and again, for me, just going back and looking at stuff that I watch on YouTube, Scott Banks for Jeff Schlupp. Let's try it. It's the same left-footed thing. Only thing is, go into YouTube and watch Banksy. He's probably one of the best free kick takers in the club.
Yeah.
It is frustrating. But like I say, I mean, we were, I don't know, what were we, 7 minutes, 6 away from nicking a point off the World Club champions or whatever. I mean, if we'd have beat them, would we have been the champions? No. Anyway, so Tim Richards, who now lives back in the UK, said nobody at the club has the guts to do what is needed with Zaha. Well, I think Patrick Vieira would do if he, but yeah, Nigel Croucher said he's more. Zaha's more bothered with selling his house. Probably not. But and Matty Cannon, same as me. Either Eze is ready or he's not. But yeah, it's a lot. I'm not going to say there's a lot of hate for Wilf, but there's a lot of frustration for Wilf. And for me, the time is coming. Come to you in a second. For me, the time is coming now where decisions are probably going to have to be made where other players. I'm not going to say they're better, but maybe more keen, that would sort of
More committed.
I dare say try harder. I can't. Yes, commitment. There you go, Bosh, Steve. There it is. Ian.
I think the thing with Zaha is that our expectations are higher. You know, whether you're conscious of it or not, when you watch Wilf play football for Crystal Palace Football Club, you expect him to beat the player. You expect him to put a good cross in. You expect him to have a shot on target. And therefore, our expectations are higher. I think Andrew Adams in the chat has got it right. I think balance it up. Zaha was inches away from twice scoring. Did well against Norwich, although missed the pen. Still carries a threat. And I think, Andrew, I think you're right, mate. I agree with you totally. Wilf does carry a threat. And all these people calling for Zaha to be dropped, that ain't happening. I don't think that's happening at all, because Wilf is still our man. I would take him off if he's not delivering, but I would always start him because he carries that threat. There's always something special. Look at the goal at Norwich. It was only 3 games ago, for crying out loud. Nobody else in our club, maybe with the exception of Gallagher, scores a goal like that. That's what he's got in his locker. That's what he's capable of. And that's what we need to believe that he can do again at Watford and at home to Burnley next week.
So, boys, thank you for that. Really good. Steve, I'm coming to you right now.
Yes,
I'm actually going to ask you this question. And Aaron, I'd like you to follow up on it as well, please. So we're going to the question that Mukta sent me earlier in the day. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, out in Facebook land, if you want to send me a question for the show, you are welcome. So, and Ian, thank you for your words about Andrew Adams, because he's a pivotal part of pivotal part of our questions crew, and he's absolutely prolific in it. He talks a lot of sense, and he's the voice of reason in our questions crew. So the question, Steve, from Mukta earlier on, we're not scoring enough goals, as we know, and he asks, the Conor Gallagher goals this season, are they papering over the cracks?
No, because we still haven't scored that many goals. However you look at it, but then when you consider we're playing a whole new style, a whole new system, a whole new philosophy with a bunch of new players, young players, you know, our average age has gone down quite a bit as well. There's a whole big turnover. And we can't forget that, you know, it was only we're 2/3 of the way into a brand new, you know, process. And yes, we're playing football. And I myself find it's a little bit tedious sometimes when you can probably count 50 passes between the back four before it even goes forward. And sometimes you're screaming, just, you know, start going forward. But I think I said it earlier before we came on air, personally, I think there's going to be a team once we're safe, and there's no question that we're going to be safe, in my opinion. Even if we lose one of the games coming up, we will be safe. But I think it will start to click towards the end of the season. I fear for one of the teams, they're going to get an absolute mauling. It's going to take time. Conor Gallagher has been brought in to do exactly what he's done. He's getting paid to do what he's done. It would be nice if there was other goals, but if we wasn't creating any chances, then I think there's a concern. But, you know, we are creating chances. They're just not being put away yet. Whether that's due to ability or whether that's due to, you know, sort of a lack of fitness or it's not through lack of effort and lack of trying. It's just it hasn't come together yet, and I think it still needs time. So no, I don't think it's paper over the cracks. It'll all come good.
Aussie man.
Look, it may have papered over the cracks a bit, but for me, you're forgetting Conor Gallagher last year was at West Brom. Now, West Brom were absolutely toilet last year. Absolutely toilet, right? And he was half decent. He was a half decent player in their side, right? You're forgetting Gallagher's playing as a number 10 at the minute for us. Would you say, he presses up, he supports the attack? That's Eze's role. I reckon Gallagher, we say we want to keep Gallagher. Did we know Gallagher was going to be this good when he come in? Well, we didn't know that. He wasn't that good at West Brom. He's just been an absolute breath of fresh air. However, that should be Eze's role. Conor Gallagher, for me, was brought in to cover Eze while he was injured. And he's been absolutely outstanding. That's why Eze can't get in the team. So, for me, we have got a player that has got the potential to overtake Conor Gallagher in that position if we do not keep him. But again, we don't know how good Eze is going to be. He hasn't looked great since he's come back, but I'm not too worried, to be honest. Look, if Eze can do Eze the season before, he was, our player of the season, I think, wasn't he? So in that system, I think Eze would play that role. So for me, look, it has papered over the cracks a little bit, but I'm not too worried.
And people are laughing at your words, choice of words in the chat. Lee Huntley just said toilet, laughing out loud. I think that's an Australian term. Gel, from the chat, please, my man.
Well, I just wanted a couple of points. If you take, Gallagher, I thought was the best player when he played for West Brom, and I'm sure he scored against us when he played for West Brom. I think they lost that game anyway, so he won or 3-1. But yeah, that's it. But I know he scored and he just looked their best player. But I said to you, Nick, I said we should be, why West Brom getting players like that? And we should be getting those. That was 2 or 3 years ago. So, but if you take Gallagher's goals out of our team, we're absolutely in the mire, because I don't see any other player scoring the caliber of goals being in the position of where he has scored his goals from. Again, you've just said about Eze, Aaron. For me, it doesn't play yesterday with his parent club, but if Eze's fit, then he should be playing in that number 10. So I don't know. I don't know why. If Eze and Gallagher are sort of the same player for the same position, then I don't know. Don Palace said Elise did well as a 10 yesterday. It's very strange times. It's changing times as well. I think that's what we need to be prepared for, because we haven't had a manager that seems to have, 4 or 5 plans. We've always had just one plan A, and when plan A, so it was we didn't know what to do, which is why it was so boring. But now we have a manager who's willing to try huge amounts of formations and 2 or 3 formations in the same game. So, but yeah, Tom Clark Samuels, go into the chat anyway about me all the time. He said apparently Newcastle want Eze. Yeah, I don't think so. He's had, like I say, he had 5 or 6 games for us, got a career-threatening injury, and now Newcastle. The thing is, it's like when we're interested in a player, West is interested. Now Newcastle. Soon you could just literally go to the Sun newspaper, go to their sports people, and just go, who do you think is going? Like Eze would go to? Well, Newcastle. You know what I mean? Messi's looking for him. Newcastle. Just because Newcastle have got about 40 billion quid to spend on players, but they'll just end up just spending another Man City. They might one day win the Premier League, but they won't win the Champions League. You know what I mean? They have a team of individuals. So, but Greg Ellis said, I think Eze might be sold off to fund at least 6 incoming players. He's never going to be a 60, 70 million pound player. Well, he might be one day, but he needs to really stay away from injuries. But but yeah, and then Penshaw Eagle said, "Remember, Newcastle want everyone." So it's just going back to another one of his. If Connor gets a bad knock, we're in the mire. So I do think he's an integral part of our team, which is why I think we will find the money for him. I really do. But yeah, it's a lot of people are glad we've got Eze, but I mean, I can't see, all of a sudden everyone's saying, yeah, but let's get rid of him to get 4 or 5 players in. When we're talking about getting rid of Wilf for the last 3 years and getting 4 or 5 players in, that never happens. So, it's testing, trying, trading times, Ian.
Yeah, before Ian jumps in, Aaron, just a message from the chat. Rob Cranfield's asked you a question. Shouldn't you have said West Brom are Dunny, not toilet? Just a thought. Mr. Noble.
Follow that. I don't think you can say that Conor Gallagher's goals are papering over cracks. Conor Gallagher is an integral part of our squad. Yeah, he scored some great goals. And, although, yes, we missed him yesterday, look, as I said right at the top of the show, we came close to getting a point yesterday, really close. If we lost 3 or 4-0, that's different. But we came really close to getting something yesterday. And Gallagher always strengthens our side. I think unquestionably Gallagher comes in on Wednesday night, probably for Schlupp, I would say. We can talk more about who comes in, what other changes we would make if we were Patrick Vieira. But Gallagher starts the next game and, we keep him for the rest of the season. What then happens is up to him and it's up to the club or the 2 clubs to decide what to do. Because I actually don't think Chelsea particularly need him. You look at the strength and depth that they've got. I mean, Mason Mount wasn't even featured yesterday. And they've got some fantastic players. So if he goes to Chelsea, does he want to be a bit part player there? Or does he want to play every week like he is going to do at Palace? He's forced his way into the England reckoning by playing for Crystal Palace. So he knows that he can get recognition that way as well. And although his family are all Chelsea and he supported Chelsea since he was a kid, his best mate, Mark, he's playing for us now, centre-back. So there's all these kind of things to consider. And I just think if he's enjoying his football and we make an offer for him that Chelsea accept, then we'll buy him in the summer. It's as simple as that. As for Eze to Newcastle, I think that's just paper talk. And, we just haven't seen the best of Eberechi Eze yet, have we, this season? He's a shadow of the player he was last year. And I do think it's more difficult for him, not just because he's coming back from injury, but because of the system we're playing. We've got so many other good players, Elise, Gallagher, around him that we didn't have last year. So he stood out last year, whereas this year, he's not so special to us, I suppose. But I think he's still got a future at the club for sure.
Just interesting, something that the real panel said in the chat. He said, a new system stroke philosophy is no excuse for not shooting enough or hitting the target. 0 shots on target is inexcusable. Doesn't matter how you build up or create a chance, we should be at least hitting the target more. And I think he's right. And there is one other thing that none of you have said on the subject of Conor Gallagher. If I'm honest with you, the last couple of games, he hasn't been, I'm not going to say he played poorly, but he hasn't been quite as effective as he had been previous games. I actually think the time for the rest against his parent club, Chelsea, has come at a good time for him, actually. I wonder if he'll come back after that little break, 2 weeks off. Hopefully, and you never know, he might be star man again on Wednesday night against Watford. Let's talk about the Watford game, boys. Ian's just alluded to it. I was going to ask you what changes from yesterday's lineup, would you make, assuming everybody's fit? Now, again, I'll give you an excuse here. Klein and Ward, we actually don't know what's going on with Joel Ward. He wasn't even in the squad yesterday. So we're working on the premise he's got some sort of knock that the club haven't said about, or he's got COVID or something like that. What changes would you make? Ian, I'm going to come to you first, if you don't mind to start.
Yeah, well, I've already said Gallagher in for Schlupp. And I will start Edouard. I'll start him up top. Because he's in my fantasy team, so I need some points.
No.
But no, we do need a striker. You know, when we're playing a team like Watford, I think it's different. The Chelsea selection, the team was selected because it was Chelsea. I'm sure of that, and therefore the team will be different when we play Watford away. I think Klein will keep his place probably, and Butland probably will stay in goal. Other than that, I think we're probably going to see it the same as we had on Saturday.
Joe, I'm coming to you for the same question. I mean, changes for the Watford game on Wednesday night. But before I do that, Aaron, how are you getting on the predictions league this week, mate? No need for that at all. I know. Sorry, I just chucked him on the bus. Joe.
Whoa. Hang on. I started with a 30-point deficit and I'm nearly caught up with you and I've overtaken Lucy already. So hang on a minute.
Joe, changes for Wednesday night, please, mate.
He'll drop on.
Rob Cranfield turned around and said, well, I wouldn't have. Yeah. Out of a third floor, mate. Out of a third floor window.
What, you giving him a chance to survive?
Sven said, keep Klein, start Elise, Eduardo, and Connor out. Connor. Start Edward and Connor, and Ayew and Schlupp out. Marjorie Croucher said start Hughes. Matty Cannon said play all the under 23s and Gallagher, smiley face. But yeah, I mean, it's just there's just there for me, like you say, I've always said I like stats, I really do. And if those stats for the front three, well, they weren't a front three, were they? Because the way that we had it set up, Ayew was in the centre of those three, and he just wasn't. Yeah, it was just six midfielders. So, but yeah, I don't know whether I know we're playing stripes, and I think he's got a little bit concerned that we look like Barcelona, but we're not. But yeah, we have to have a forward. And Ryan Hinton said Eze needs to start. Also, Mateta likes play two up front. Maybe cease, maybe a change in formation in the second half. So yeah, it's like I say, there's changes that are needed. Is Sarr playing for Watford again now? Is he back playing? Because I know he's been out for a long time. But if he's back playing, Jesus, then we're going to need to just go back and play 5-5. Yeah,
Steve?
We need to play 5-5. I think just to put four players on him.
How do we break down the Hodgson bus on Wednesday night, Steve?
Well, I mean, we all know Roy likes his 4-4-2, and ultimately, I think with 4-4-2, I can see why their 4-2-3-1 was used, because I think if you overload the midfield with the pace that we've got, but with a focal point up top. Dare I say, and I'm very critical of Benteke, but I think he's going to suit the type of game that would actually beat Watford. So I would actually, dare I say it, I would start with Benteke and bring in Gallagher for Schlupp. And Macca's back now, isn't he, as well? But Macca and Hughes in the holding roles with Elise, Gallagher and Zaha, with Benteke up front. That's what I would go.
So no room for Kouyaté, no room for Checky Kouyaté in your team.
I know he did well the other day, did well yesterday, but I always found with Cheku, I always found him better as a centre back than I did as a holding midfielder. For all under Roy, that's what I felt. He didn't really get into the team that much, and then when we needed a centre back, and he played almost a whole season, I thought he was like one of the outstanding players. But back in holding midfielder, he's a good player, but I didn't rate him that much. I would go with Will Hughes and Macca. I think that'd be a great partnership.
Go on.
I'd play Hughes, but I'd play Kouyaté alongside him, and I'd rest Macca for this. And the reason I'd rest Macca, yes, he was good against Chelsea, but he's only his first game back. It's his first start. You know, this is 3 days' time we're talking about, 3 or 4 days' time. So I think Hughes against his old club, definitely, because he'll have a real point to prove and he'll be really up for it. And you can't drop Kouyaté the way he's played yesterday and off the back of AFCON for me.
Right. Steve, just to let you know, in the chat, Lucy Producer Lucy, she said, I agree, Steve, start tickers. Well, we all know she's mad anyway. Andrew Adams says, total agreement with Steve. I presume that's about Techers as well. And guys, there's somebody none of you have mentioned throughout the whole show or in the chat. We've got a club captain missing at the moment. He's sitting on the bench. Is there any room for Milivojevic on Wednesday night?
There's no point talking about it because the answer's no.
No.
Next
Very
subject.
harsh.
I agree. He hasn't been the same player for the last 18 months.
It's not good enough.
And you know, I'm not arguing. I was only
Three certainties.
I was asking. Say again.
I mean, I did say yesterday, actually, I said to Tim Richard yesterday.
Taxes and Milivojevic to give the ball away.
Yellow card.
Joe, you had your hand up.
No, just
Can I
saying the three things that are guaranteed. Yeah, death, taxes, and a yellow card for Milivojevic. So and everyone in the chat saying no, Luca. So Ian,
Tim Richards. I said to him yesterday during the warm up, watching Luca because we're watching the subs warm up in front of us. That I'm glad Luca didn't go to Reading because he was linked with Reading in the window. I'm glad he stayed because we need him as part of the squad. So there's no way he's starting, Nick. There's no way he's getting anywhere near that starting 11. He's about the sixth choice midfield player. But if we are 1-0 up with 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, I think you can bring Luca on for a forward player and he can do a job for us still.
I think just on that note, though, does that not go to say kind of, I mean, I respect Luca for everything he's given us, but when Reading, a team fighting for survival in a division below us, is after our club captain, does that not kind of give you an indication he shouldn't really be even? He should just be with the under 23s until his contract's done. That's what I'd be thinking. It's astounding.
The player we haven't spoken about is Jaro Riedeveld as well. Jack Mackenzie Kerr said, "Does Jaro still play for us?" Yes, he does. But was he on the bench yesterday? I don't know. Someone tell me.
No.
I don't know what he's done wrong, really.
I have to say, guys, we've done it a little bit differently tonight, but it's been. Somebody mentioned the red card for Milivojevic. You can't see it in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, but I just got a yellow card from Lucy for being rude to our Lucy, who she knows that we love her dearly. Nigel Croucher in the background for your work once again this week. Tom Clark Samuel, your work on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much. I'm going to call it a day. We have got a busy week this week, people. We've got obviously Watford and Burnley, and hopefully this time next week we want to have a bit more of a positive show. Let's go with 4 points. I think we'll get one win and a draw against those two teams, and that'll put us all in a better position. Please like the page. We need some more likes on the actual Red and Blue Review Facebook page. Please subscribe and hit that bell on our YouTube channel. It's massively important to us. We've got some good numbers on there. On screen, I can see the number 67 on live people. We know that's wrong. It's in excess of well over 100 people watching us live, be it on our YouTube channel or on the Facebook page. So wherever you are watching this broadcast, thank you. And before I wrap up, Ian?
Yeah, just to remind people that on next week's show, we will have the winner of our Twitter competition, prediction of the points for this last month. All right, points of February. A lot of people predicted on 4 games. Actually, there are 5 games now because the Watford game was rearranged. So the most we can get is 8, of course, because we've got 2 so far. So if you predicted 9 or more, you're out of it already. But if you predicted 8 or less, there's a chance that you can still win one of those signed Steve Cockwell programs, and we'll announce it on the show next week.
And I'm going to be contacting Steve tomorrow about something completely different. Aaron, you've got to go to work. Thank you very much for your time. Bless you, mate. I'll talk to you soon. Steve-O, great to have you back, mate. We'll talk again soon. I'm sure your name is down for another one very shortly anyway. Joe Olio, as always, can't do it without you, mate. My wingman, Ian Noble, bless you. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, wherever you're watching in the world, God bless, good night, stay safe. I'll see you next Sunday. Good night, everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night.